Well, hopes fade for Ireland eventually. They had a chance. They were in a strong position at the 14 over mark, but it's become the theme now. Just when the low ranked team is in business, somehow it just doesn't go their way from there. But well done, Sri Lanka, under pressure. Not great form going into the World Cup, but the co-hosts start with a win of their own, albeit by just 20, which is not a big margin. And if you break down this game, as we will on ESPN Cricket for Timeout, we'll hear from Farveez, Maharoof, GS is here, Saba Karim is here, and we'll know that this possibly came down to a few key overs. Because Ireland played 60-70% of this game in control, if I can just put a broad number out there. What was the telling difference though, Saba, for you?
The spell of Hasaranga and Tikshana. One bowled 4 over, 23 runs conceded, picked up 3 wickets. Similar story for Hasaranga also, 3 for 25. On top of that, Hasaranga half fit at this stage. So I don't know what may happen as the tournament progresses. But today he wasn't fully fit, especially after I think got injured while bowling the second over.
While bowling his first.
It's his first over. He went off, came back, and then picked up some important wickets. Tikshana is always a big card for Sri Lanka. So yes, I think Ireland was in the game. But you know, the learning for such nations, low or bottom ranked nations, is that if you leave more than back 10, if the asking run rate is 10 plus, then it becomes exceedingly difficult to finish the game in your favor.
Even if you have wickets in hand.
Even if you have wickets in hand, because that's where experience counts. That's where these nations, they keep their top quality bowlers at that stage. That's how the pressure builds up, and they've been unable to come out of it. We saw that in that game against Nepal also, versus against England. And then today a similar story.
Okay, yeah, I mean they needed 10, exactly 60 of 6, but they didn't get a single over of 10 after that. As far as Saba's spinners go, throw in Velal again, that's 7 for 76 of 12 overs. Break down the game in your eyes?
I think I'll just go back to the 8th over, Hasaranga's first over. We all knew that he was kind of injured, he was limping. I think the shot selection there, Ross Sadler could have just played that particular ball out. He was the set batter. He should have kind of batted to a little bit more, because we did speak in the pre-show about their batting, right? It kind of ends. Dockel is a pretty good hitter, but otherwise, you know, that middle order is not, like he says, you can't leave too much for that. Right? They were the top heavy side. So I felt if he had batted a bit, things should have been different.
Yeah, what I don't find is that they don't seem to have the game to take down spin. I think when pace is on, Ireland seem comfortable. But Farveez, once again, close. So close. One boundary here and there and it would have been bang on. Mr. Maharoof said at halftime 147 bundled out Ireland, 143 bundled out Ireland. I'm sure there's a sense of relief, but yet a sense of confidence given how much scrutiny this team was under, Farveez.
Certainly a relief for sure. First game of the World Cup campaign against a low-ranked side at home under a packed house. You just felt like, you know, the pressure is on Sri Lanka, especially, I mean, leading up to, you know, we spoke about everything leading up to the World Cup, the issues they've been going through. But it just, in the end, it's the bowlers actually showed their class. The last, I think, 2.5 years, 3 years, I mean, when Sri Lanka won the Asia Cup a few years ago, from then onwards, the bowlers have carried the weight of this team for a very long time. And once again, it was a scene with the experience of Tikshana, Dushmantha, and Hasaranga paving the way for a Sri Lanka win. So, you know, lot to learn, lot to improve from these performances. But overall, positive way to start the World Cup campaign.
What version of Anindya Hasaranga did we see tonight, Farveez? It's quite a unique story. Struggling to bowl his overs, almost looked like he was just releasing, you know, getting through his action, and still he gets key wicket of Rossiter, ends up coming back, gets more wickets. What is this Hasaranga version we saw today?
It's not for the very first time I've seen this Hasaranga bowling with one leg. You know, he's been having these hamstring issues for a while. I think, if I'm correct, he had a surgery on his right hamstring. And what the troubling factor is today that he was holding his left hamstring. So, you know, scans will tell us or tell everyone what exact damage is. But this is not the first time I've seen Hasaranga bowling with one leg. But you just got to give it to him, the courage, the sacrifice, you know, to come out with one leg bowling, still bowling 40-50% fit, was good enough as the Irish batters. I don't think they read the Googlies very well off the pitch or in the air of Anindya Hasaranga. That was the difference. And overall, I just want to admire him for his commitment, because he's a big gun player. I said it in the beginning of the show that Sri Lanka to go a long way, Anindya Hasaranga is a key player in this bowling lineup. But looks like he's going to miss out. You know, I'm an injury prone big injury-prone player. So I can understand what he's going through, and if that's the scene what he's going through, he'll surely be out of the World Cup. So that's a huge lose for Sri Lanka going forward.
Ooh, we will wait and find out what the extent of their injuries. Yes, Saba.
I actually want to ask you, Farveez, who actually pushed him back on the field to finish his quota of overs?
Knowing Sanat Jayasuriya, your friend and my friend, I'm sure he would have said, go one leg, half a leg, I don't care, go and bowl.
Win this game for
that's
us.
sort of a character what it was. Win this game for us. Sanat Jayasuriya, as you know, is so spiritual, he's so tense. I mean, that's his nature. He loves the country so much. He loves the players so much. You know, he just emotions runs out. And if you have realized in the last bilateral series, whatever he's been there for the last 2 years, he only sits in one place. He does not move. He does not believe in those. So he's that sort of a character. I'm pretty sure, Sababhai, answering your question, Sanat could have said, get out there, bowl with one leg.
I to be fair, I picked up Sanat's body language, and whatever little it said, he was tense at 100 for 2.
Yeah.
Finally, the smile came after.
And only one expression after that, like this. Yes.
You can imagine how much it means to them. This was a banana skin game for them. This could have decided effectively which one of these two teams. I mean, nothing to take for granted in the T20 World Cup, but you fancy Australia to take one spot in this group, and this could have come down to this fixture. We still have Zimbabwe, so again, I'm not just going for it, but as things might play out, let's just break down when you're Ireland in this situation. And Isabel Joyce, who's not with us, unfortunately, she had a situation at home, and we'll have Izzy back soon. Said at the mid-inning show too, some of the tactical calls on whether they could have bowled another over Harry Tector, because the 2 overs GS as I see it, there's a 17th over that went for 21 and a 19th over that went for 19. That's what's given Kamindu Mendes the player of the match. He's number 1 on our MVP as well. But there are not a lot of 20-run overs in this whole game, which shows the sort of decisive nature of those 2 overs. So I wonder, if you're in that Ireland dugout right now, when you're breaking that game down on where it slipped, how much you're looking at the first innings rather than the second innings.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think the first innings, the last 4 overs kind of changed everything. I think till then they were in control, and I don't think they had enough plans for Kamindu Mendes. Like we discussed, he does play square of the wicket. I thought they could have just bowled test match line and length to him. They didn't bowl that. They bowled a bit fuller, and he's very strong over the offside. He hit a couple of boundaries there.
So they bowled to his strengths effectively.
So I felt that they were found wanting a bit there. Then they started bowling a lot of extras, and they completely lost the plot.
I also feel, Raunak, I think I'm looking at 2 factors. One was that poor catching.
Yes.
That was the major one. That was the decisive one. And then Ireland's inability to exert that kind of power when they're up against spinners. And when you're playing in Sri Lankan conditions, that's one area where you really need to work very hard. Although they had come prepared, but when you're up against a top quality spin bowling attack like Sri Lanka has, you also add Velalage in the mix, then I think it becomes a very formidable spin bowling attack. So you need to look to hit straight, need to pick the right variations, and then get some more power behind it to coil and uncoil at the right time against spinner. That matters a lot, and I think that's one area where they really need to work.
And that's where teams have taken down Hasaranga in the past. Batters like to hit him straight because he gives the ball there. Premadasa as a ground 2, your better options you'd think are straight. But we did a long chat on surfaces of Sri Lanka in the pre-show with Dasun Chanaka's quotes and the lower scoring points. Farveez, you made some strong statements there of, well, it's been suited for the strengths of the home team. So is this an indication of what we'll get to see in Colombo or in the Sri Lankan venues now, and whether this makes Sri Lanka even more of a threat, that their spinners can be bowling late into even the second innings of a game?
I think with ICC curators taking over the venues, I mean, the preparation will be far different to what the Sri Lankan curator does. So as I said, bilateral series, it's totally under control of the team think tank and the curator how to prepare a pitch. So I think that's taken out of their hands. It's totally up to the ICC. And if I'm not misquoted, I think there is a guideline of 3.5 to 5 millimeters of the grass to be kept. So in the pitch report, I think Russell said 3.5 to 4 millimeters. I mean, that's a lot comparing white ball cricket at the Premadasam. So I mean, nothing wrong with the pitch. I think yes, one or 2 deliveries did turn, especially with the wrist spinners. But with the finger spinners, the ball was skidding onto the bat. Kusal Mendes showed how to bat in these conditions. Kamindu Mendes, for a certain extent, showed how to bat in conditions, because Sri Lankan pitchers, I mean, Saba will agree with me, he has played in these conditions. It's a matter of getting yourself in a little bit. Give yourself a little time, initial 5 to 10 minutes, and then there are runs to be made. There are runs ones into twos, twos into threes. That's Premadasa Stadium. But you go to Pallakele, the pitches will be far different. High altitude, the sixes will carry a long way. It's in the hill country, so the conditions will differ. So I reckon when it comes to conditions in this game, probably Ireland, players like Paul Sterling, who are far better player, he was trying to slog every delivery. That's not against a quality bowling lineup. So I think tactically they got it wrong there. Whereas Sri Lanka, yes, in the middle overs from 7 to 15, there was no boundary, but still they had a game plan. Whether it had worked or when goes the other way in another day, it's a 50-50 call. But at least they had a plan. But with Ireland, they want to go big in the power play. But the middle overs, they knew, succumbing to the finger spin of Lalage, wrist spin of Hasaranga will be an issue. So that's where they lacked. And as soon as Lokantaka got out after that partnership with Hector, I knew this Sri Lanka had this game in the bag.
Yeah, that was the sense we got as well. And Izzy Joyce did bring up that the problem with the opening pair is consuming balls sometimes when they go for big. Paul Sterling 6 of 13, everyone else striking at least at 100 if not more. So that was an area of concern for the Irish captain. Do we have enough? Do we take enough from this game for Ireland that they could still trouble, or they could still at least finish amongst the top 3 in this group? Have we seen enough quality there? Because like I said, they did have enough control over this game.
I think the I want to ask the experts about the toss. I always feel associate teams have a better chance of defending scores than chasing. I've seen a lot of these kind of matches where people come close, but they're not able to play under pressure. Whereas when you're actually defending 140, 150, sometimes, the odd wicket, the opposition team is under pressure. I've seen that quite a lot. And in fact, you go back and see a lot of these upsets or wins, it's usually by defending. But most of them are tending to choose to chase because of dew and conditions. So I think the way their team is lined up, because their bowling is slightly more better than their batting, I would always think that they're better off defending, and that their bowling showed some really good glimpses.
Of course, I do point out, I know your point, but of course Ireland are a full member. We're talking lower ranked teams generally. And for an example, Afghanistan batted first this morning. It seemed to be a positive enough move, and they seemed pretty happy with how their batting went. But as the template goes, the United States in a chase, of course, against India. What else do we have? Netherlands, I think, awfully close to getting the upset. Yeah, but again, they seemed like they were in a stronger position there. So as the theme goes of the early 2 days and 6 games, whether that's something that you'd like to see the lower ranked teams do, actually trust their batting more.
Well, they can do that, Raunak, but I also feel that what is your strength and weaknesses? You need to do a SWOT analysis. You're up against some strong nations, but you need to figure out where lies your strength, and I think you need to prepare according to that. Batting first in these conditions may become extremely, it may not be easy. Look what happened to Sri Lanka today. They almost faltered. It's just because catches were dropped. Otherwise, Ireland was in a strong position to bundle them out for say 120, 130, and that could have been an easy chase for Ireland. So I think they need to figure out what are the areas they were unable to seize those moments, and I think that's when they can figure out the right approach. But I think it needs to be extremely flexible in their approach when they go ahead in the remaining matches. Ireland, I have more faith in Ireland's bowling attack. They seem more rounded. They have a decent pace bowling attack. Mark Adair has got enough experience of playing global franchise leagues. George Dockrell looks to be an extremely fine left-arm spin bowler. He has the ability. He has the height.
Been around a long time, Dockrell.
Yeah, he's been. Did I say young or not young? Fine young man. Fine left-arm spinner.
I mean, he started very young, which is why he's still. But if Dockrell was in the 2011 World Cup, wasn't he? As a 17-year-old,
very young,
and he's still here as a 34, 35-year-old. So but he's actually his career has been interesting. He stopped bowling at one point, and now he's bowling again. But your point is taken. Their bowling is their strongest suit,
and I think they need to really work hard on their batting, especially in the middle overs.
Quick one, Farveez, on whether dew plays a part. I think Fidel at the ground, a man at the ground, says it didn't play a part today. Is that likelier in Sri Lanka, that we will not see as much dew as might impact perhaps the games in India?
It all depends on the wind factor. In Sri Lanka, we believe that if there is wind, either in Pallakele or Hambantota, Colombo RPS or Colombo SSC, the wind factor plays a big role in dew. I think it was quite windy up in Premadasa today. So, when it's windy, you don't see, much where it threatens the bowling side with the brew. So that's a factor going forward for the teams who are traveling to Sri Lanka after a long time. That's a factor to keep in mind. But going forward, answering GS's question, I think it all depends on the strength and weaknesses. Like for an example, on a turning surface, on a slow surface like which we had in the Mumbai game against England, against Nepal. They're better off, I think, trying to defend it with their bowling attack. I think with Ireland, if the conditions are right, they still got it. And chasing down against quality side will be an issue for smaller nation. Ireland being a test playing nation, but when it comes to chasing in big tournaments, they don't have much experience. But it all depends on the conditions. If the conditions suits, I think the associate countries should think of defending also.
All right, well, let's wrap that up then. Quite a day in the T20 World Cup. We've of course discussed England Nepal on our pre-show. Saba, you did,
and what a game!
Games. And even the New Zealand Afghanistan game,
yes.
Very good turnout in Chennai. Very knowledgeable. Chennai is back with crowds. Any takeaways? Any major observations of the day with regards to the other games as well? We have of course covered it, and you can find our analysis on ESPN Cricket Info. But anything that you want to pick up on what we can come to expect from this T20 World Cup with the 6 games we've had so far?
Number one for me is finding the right combination early on in this World Cup, and I think that's where Afghanistan faltered. They should have played an extra spinner, especially if you have someone like Noor Ahmed in your squad. Number two is, and as I mentioned this earlier, is that when you're chasing an associate nation, try and ensure that you get that your asking run rate in the back 10 is below 10. That is a possibility to get to that to whatever target is in front of you.
I mean, today's theme for me, I was very surprised that both Adil Rashid and Rashid Khan, especially Rashid Khan, who you all have seen a fair bit of, including Farveez, and it's not quite the same Rashid Khan, who's almost become, dare I say, with due respect to him, a bit of a release bowler with the pressure that the other bowlers are bowling.
No, I think he's been around for too long, and the shoulder injury has caused him to kind of, it's always difficult. I've spoken to a lot of people who have recovered from injuries. They say it's very hard to go back to exactly the same place you were. So I think batsmen have I think that fear factor is gone, Raunak. I think that's the big thing. It's more a mind space thing. Usually when the likes of Rashid come, you want to just play him out, look to score 20-25 runs of his 4 overs. But nowadays, I think the first over, it was, I think, Glenn Phillips who hit him straight down the ground for the maximum. So that's not something you see.
Actually, he's absolutely right, and I want to weigh in on that one. And Farveez, feel free to jump in. That I see a growing pattern now. There is a trend that against Rashid Khan, try and attack in the first over, and I've seen that even in these franchisee leagues. I was up there covering the T20. I saw that happen 2-3 games. SA T20, he didn't perform very well. So the first over is extremely crucial. You have to project that you are extremely fearless against Rashid Khan. Once you put him under the cosh, then I think it's not easy for him to be more subtle in his variation or to be more effective. And I think that's what I see now happening against Rashid Khan.
Farveez?
I think Saba is spot on. I think Rashid Khan as a bowler, he wants to dominate from the word go. And as a batting side, if you're smart enough to play with his ego, that can play a huge role. I mean, he's a bowler. He wants to pick up wickets. He wants to be in the limelight. And the first over, if he doesn't pick up wickets, he's going to bowl to pick up wickets. And that's where the batting side can capitalize and try and attack him. And what Glenn Phillips did today, I've seen it in the past in the IPL. The good players go after him initially, and then all of a sudden he falls into that survival mode. He's not as dangerous as that. But if you give him a bit of a swing, that's where he can get on top of the batter. He can be really hard to go by. And also just add one more point. I think Afghanistan going forward, Noor Ahmed in day games in Chennai. I think they're playing about 2 or 3 games there. It's a must in those conditions. And also their side in the last 3-4 years, they are very reluctant to chase a score because their bowling attack is so good and batting is so thin. So that's something that they might have to look into, because looking at how the pitches are, that probably might be, especially in India, since they're playing all their games in India, will be a way forward, chasing later.
Okay, well, the story...
And thanks a ton, Farveez, if not for the numbers, at least for my assessment. Thank you so much.
You two have some history, don't you? I'm picking up on something here, some vibes.
We've been only work colleagues, that's it.
Some interesting chemistry between Saba Karim and Farveez Maharoof. I hope that they're reunited at some point. I think you are, if I remember the schedule.
I look forward to that one again.
Excellent.
Yes, hopefully.
Got to say though, the story of the day, and we covered it on our pre-show, so please catch that if you're a Nepal fan, is just what to look out for. I mean, Nepal, the support, the way they gave England an almighty scare. I think that's a team now that we're all going to keep a very close eye on. The West Indies and all the other teams in that. Let's hope they have a good tournament. Right, that's pretty much it. Farveez Maharoof, thank you very much for your time and your thoughts. Look forward to seeing you again very soon. Saba Karim, same for you, sir.
Cheers.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
G-Stats, pleasure as always. All your data and numbers, and in the end, you just give me mindset and psychology and all.
Maybe that's
What a guy. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, GS. Always a pleasure. Thank you for being with us. The T20 World Cup has only just begun. It's 2 days, and yet we've had so much to talk about with 6 games. There'll be another bunch tomorrow. So we'll be live for the 7 p.m. game. So 6:30, we're in our part of the world. Join us then for analysis on ESPN Cricket for Time Out. Good night.